Welcome back to the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast, The Good Liars, Davram Stiefler and Jason Selvig. Hi, guys.
How's it
Hey,
going?
what's
I'm.
going on?
I need to pick your brains. I saw you in Chicago at the DNC for about 14 seconds, and then I wanted to talk to you there, and it never happened because that was like crazy, right? That whole thing
Yeah.
was nuts. But you were in New York City yesterday for what I'm calling the Klan rally, and that's putting it kind of mildly, the Trump MSG thing. So what were your kind of takeaways? And yeah, give me your impressions of it. How did it go?
Well, arriving there and seeing, we've been to these Trump rallies across the country
Hmm.
and or seeing the trucks, the trucks outfitted with like 50 flags and someone hanging out the window and
Yeah.
screaming and riding by and seeing that like transplanted to 34th Street
Yeah.
and in New York City was like kind of a jarring, strange thing. But overall, I would say there is a differentness to every one of these things we go to, but also a sameness. So I think very quickly we were like, okay, this is the situation. These are the people. Let's start talking to them. I don't know. So both shocking and incredibly normal for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was and no offense to New Jersey, but DeVrom was asking people like where did you come from? Long Island, Staten Island, or New Jersey? Like probably 90% of the people said one of those three places. So it wasn't like there was a lot of New York City residents there. We did talk to some people from Queens, one guy from Greenpoint, Brooklyn. So there was representation from New York City proper, but it definitely felt like most of the people made a trip to go to this rally as opposed to just walking out and hopping on the subway
Yeah.
like we did to go to to go to the rally.
Which has to be in its own way surreal. But yeah, I love that clip that you had posted yesterday, where it's like, who's from Staten Island, who's from Long Island, who's from Jersey. We have no shortage of MAGA here in Jersey. I mean, the shore is like all MAGA, but my little corner out here in the west northwest is as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if a whole bunch of folks from here went there in their trucks outfitted with their many flags and their truck nuts.
I'm
Gotta have the
sure. And
truck
and our
nuts.
our point wasn't that because some people in the comments were like, "Oh, they're being bussed in, they're being paid." No, it wasn't that.
No.
The point was that it just wasn't Manhattanites who like work in the area and were like, "We love Donald Trump. We're going to this rally." We could just tell that it was, people from those places, and we were, to Jason's point, almost never wrong. There were like three or four exceptions when we asked probably 55 people that.
Yeah, when I lived in the city and worked in restaurants, we would call the people who would come in on the weekends, bridge and tunnel. So like as a resident of New Jersey, I can own that about myself. And that was very much
Right.
the bridge and
Right.
tunnel crowd. Yeah, but still, were they largely civilized in their interactions? Was it seemingly peaceful? Was it, angry? What were the vibes outside, inside, etc.?
I mean, the vibes were a Trump rally. I mean, I don't know how to put it any other way. Trump rally, you talk to a lot of people at Trump rally as we do, and you see that a lot of people are very nice, but say very mean things.
Hmm.
So a lot of the people were very courteous and nice, but they were saying some things that, personally I find to be terrible. But I mean, for the most part, people were were fine, but there was some people. One guy was very upset with us and was screaming fake news at us. And I think he was a little drunk too, believe
Mm-hmm.
it or
We
not.
believe it or not, there was probably some alcohol involved. But like
Shockingly.
it's almost like we've talked about this before a little bit, but it almost has like a Grateful Dead tour vibe where people will say some things that, personally it's like, "Oh, wow, that sounds like it would be pretty offensive to a certain, group of people, and I'm surprised you're just saying that." But then there's also like a we're all here, we all love each other vibe. Like, why can't people understand that about us? The media should be reporting more of that. So we do our best to share sometimes when people are saying things like that as well.
Yeah.
But it's got both of those things. People are like, we're just here amongst like-minded people, but also I'm going to throw this empty beer can at you. because you're
yeah.
fake news.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's both of those things.
You so often point out the hypocrisy of like what they're saying versus what they're wearing. Like, oh, like would you say they need to tone down the rhetoric, and like their shirt says something about a bitch. I forget, like shut
Yeah.
up, bitch, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of the shirts. There's say no to the word that starts with H and rhymes with Joe is a big shirt now at Trump rallies, and people are always like, Democrats are out of control with their rhetoric. It's like, look at your shirt right
Right.
now. This is not very great rhetoric right now.
Right.
I have
Right.
this thing in my head because I was just looking at the footage from yesterday, and it was this woman being like, Trump, Trump, a little louder, Trump, Trump, and she's got this. She's trying to like get a chant going. It doesn't work, and then this guy just comes over and is just like, Trump's no racist. And then
Yeah.
like we'll look at all of the stuff from the rally, like the guy saying Puerto Rico was an island of trash, and just
Right.
just the and that's like really like the that's like a comedian going out there and like saying some offensive jokes, and at least he's like saying he's a comedian doing this. But other people, Rudy Giuliani, Tucker Carlson, they're saying things that are just extraordinarily
Right.
racist as well,
As
but in a much more
political
polished
figures
way.
being
Yeah.
like, this is our policy. We have to get this message across. And
Right.
it's like
Right.
incredibly exclusionary and everything. That particular interaction, it's also like it was this woman trying to start a chant, and a guy runs in and says, "We're not racist." And it's like, well, nobody was asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, you
But the
just
fact that
decided to
you
yell
felt like
that.
you had to come and rush in and justify that might say something about, yourself or what you're worried, how you're worried about being perceived. Like that was not what the conversation was about.
Yeah.
So a little foreshadowing, I think, on that guy's part with
A
that
The
little
conversation was
defensive.
just about singing a song and
singing
getting
a song.
chant going.
I'm not
Yeah.
racist.
I'm not racist. Hey, I just want to throw out this here, guys. I'm not
Yeah.
racist. Trump's not
I don't
racist.
want to
We're
ruin
good.
the
We're good here.
song. The
Yeah,
rhythm
yeah,
got going,
yeah.
but
Like, just because everybody at this rally that I'm attending has dropped some sort of slur or,
right.
derogatory comment about some ethnicity. I mean, Tucker's again, like Tucker standing up there saying, I just want the freedom to tell the truth as he's lying about Kamala Harris's ethnicity and intellect. It was like,
Right.
no, you don't
Right.
want the freedom to tell the truth. You want the freedom to lie because you got fired for lying. So you want to be able to lie without consequence. And Trump didn't push back against, obviously he doesn't ever, but and no one in the campaign pushed back against any of the other comments about her being the Antichrist or any of it, except for the Puerto Rico island of trash thing, because it seems like they're getting a significant amount of criticism for that, deservedly
Is
so.
Florida in play now?
Yeah, a little bit, right? Florida's like,
Yeah.
let me take a second look. But a lot of people already voted. I have a friend who's Puerto Rican and his mom's in Florida, and he's like, she voted 2 weeks ago. I'm like, did she go get
Oh,
it back?
man.
But I mean, did you guys stick around for the whole thing, or did you go in? No,
I'm
no,
giving
Not
a
our
shocked
bag.
look of no,
Yeah.
no
no.
way, no
It
way.
was very
Are you
long.
kidding me? Like I hate crowds in
Yeah,
general. Like
yeah,
I don't hate crowds. I like going to big events. It's fun. I don't like lines. And that whole
yeah.
thing was just a giant line. And it was no. I have no interest in going to it. Even as a pro wrestling fan, seeing Hulk Hogan in person again, I have
Yeah.
no interest in seeing that again. And there was I know there's a spectacle to it because it's in
Mhm.
MSG, but I don't know, Devram. Would any part of you want to go? I think I said it as a joke because I
If
had to
there
leave, and I was
was
like,
if
Devram, you
there
should
was
go. It'd be
one,
fun.
it would have been this one, I guess. I guess I would have gone to this over others, but no.
Yeah.
It's a line. We wouldn't have been able to do our jobs at all and talk to people. We would have been stuck in one place for 8 hours.
Ooh.
Um, but
Yeah.
at some point, maybe we go to another one. I don't know.
Well,
I
I
don't
keep
know.
telling you guys, like before I die, I need to try and go just to see the
Well,
spectacle.
look, let's just if you want to think positively about this, we were talking about it's like, well, what's going to happen in the election? We could get into that in a little bit, how we are feeling about things, but
Yeah.
the maybe this will be the last round of rallies ever. And I'm saying that knowing it's not true. Even if he lost in a landslide, he's going to say he won and
Mhm.
have a rally next month. Like that's just who he is. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we're like, hopefully it'll be the last one. I think in 2020, we went to one in Pennsylvania, almost exactly 4 years ago. We were like, this might be the last
This
Trump
could be
rally
the
we
last
ever go
one.
to.
This could
This
be the
could be
last
it.
one. Little did we know. Hundreds
Yeah.
more.
See, and I will tell anybody this. I was so naive. I was so naive. Actually thought when he lost and he was impeached the second time, and a few Republicans peeled off for 10 seconds, I was like, that's it. He's gonna be gone. He's gonna quietly
Right.
or not so quietly disappear into, the Florida swamp, and they'll move on. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Well, I mean, was I wrong? I certainly
Jason,
did
you
not expect.
remember how like distraught I was for those few days after it was after the election, as it was after it was called, and Jason would be like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "Oh, I was just thinking, this would have been the time for people to say we lost and Donald Trump isn't our guy anymore." And it didn't happen.
Mhm.
And then January 6th happened and it didn't happen again. And then it was clear that this will never happen as long as this guy's around. I have to say, if he loses this election, he will have lost, he will have underperformed in multiple midterms and lost multiple presidential elections in a row.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about winning. You would think at some point people would walk away, but nothing would surprise me anymore. So,
It's it's true. And let's talk about some of the races, because there's also some stuff going on in North Carolina that you guys have been chronicling, related to their superintendent, the Republican nominee for superintendent of schools, Michelle Morrow, who is a fucking train wreck. The woman is a Russian nesting doll of, like, holy shit. And Mark Robinson. But let's start with Michelle Morrow, because she's one of my favorite targets, because I work with an organization where North Carolina is one of our key states, and she's been on my radar for a long time. I don't know if you guys know this, but she circulated a flyer about education, in which she spelled academics. So there was a spelling error on her flyer about education that had the word dicks in it, where it should have said academics.
It
Yeah.
wasn't a pun?
amazing.
No, no,
Okay. All right.
no, she's not clever, as you may know, because you've met her. And so let's talk about that, because that video went so viral and I laughed my ass off, because when I watched it the first 15 times, I thought she couldn't find the exit, but I heard you guys saying, oh no, it's the meeting's over there. So she couldn't find a meeting, I'm guessing. But either
It
way,
was her own campaign event. It was
holy,
her event that she
Yeah.
could not find.
So it was a room full of people like noshing on food. She was, 45 minutes late. So they were all like waiting for her. They had their gear on and she walked in. And I think because we dressed the way we do, like semi-professional dorks, I guess, she thought we were representing the venue. So it was just her trying to find the event.
but Jason
Yeah.
asked her to sign her tweet calling for Obama's execution. And she was like, "Oh, that's so nice of you." And then she was like, "No, I will not sign it." Those are her words. Like, those are
Those
her
are her
words.
words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Since deleted tweets that she will not apologize for. I mean, she was asked in a debate if she would apologize for any of the rhetoric that she's used in the past. She was like, no, no, I won't. No, I won't. Uh, which is like the whole thing with like these like Trump caricatures. Like they try and have the like bravado and the never saying sorry kind of attitude. But it only works with Trump because he's like a narcissist and is totally not in touch with reality. So he starts believing his own bullshit.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think I mean, I don't know enough about her to say one way or the other. I don't think she really like believes her own bullshit. And she might think I did nothing wrong and she really believes all these QAnon theories. But I think that she was just like, I gotta be tough about this, even though I deleted the tweets.
Yeah.
But her reaction was very funny because she went into the wrong door. There was four doors. We talked about this on our podcast. There was four doors. She came in one of them, and then she picked wrong two more times. Like there was only three options, and she picked wrong three times in a row. So it was very funny to watch.
That's like the perfect person to put in charge of all of North Carolina's
I
public
know.
schools.
Right? Common sense out the window. Also, she doesn't have any children in public
Yep.
school. I'm sure she would say
Yep.
because she doesn't trust the system. But to me,
Mm,
all these tweets aside, although how can you forget about these tweets?
yeah.
But wouldn't you want someone who'd like had kids in the system and understood it and wanted to improve it in some way? None of it makes sense, I guess, is my point. She
No.
like her qualifications are tweets in a way. Like those are that's what she's putting out there and hoping that that gets her elected.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
She's cute.
Jason and I talked about it yesterday. Like we didn't know that that video would be so well received because I think some of it's worn off on us. Like we're like, oh, people are tweeting this kind of shit all the time.
Yeah.
But no, it is wild. It is crazy, and it is interesting when someone has to read their own words like that.
And then Obama mentioned it himself this past his past appearance. He mentioned her. I don't know. Maybe he was in North Carolina, I think, and he said, she's tweeting about executing me. I guess I have a vested interest.
I've got some skin in the game here.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I mean,
Yeah.
Obama is very funny. We saw at the DNC his dick joke, just
Oh,
like he's got to
God.
win. His delivery is it's very good.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
he's
Good.
I mean,
good.
the two of them, Michelle and Brock, really are just like, it's like there's everyone else, and then there's them, and you can't compete with it. You're like, oh my God, she was, you can't top that. And then he comes out and you're like, I don't know, that's really really
Yeah, that was
close.
good too.
Yeah. But speaking of Michelle Morrow, she's not the only crazy one running in North Carolina, because she's good friends with Mark Robinson, who's running for governor down there. And you guys have talked to a lot of people down there who are not so excited. These are Trumpers, to vote for Mark Robinson. Is that what you've been like meeting with? Like, people are largely saying they don't think they're going to vote for him. They're just going to leave that blank, or what are they going to do?
Well,
We've talked to a lot of people. It seems like it's like, I don't know, 40% of them say, oh, but I don't want to vote for him, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Which is a high percentage, saying he's a little too extreme for me, which has been an amazing thing to witness. And then they're in a line with a MAGA hat on at a Trump rally,
Right.
not seeing that there are some similarities here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like he's not doing well when that crowd, the never apologize, crowd, is starting to kind of peel off.
we did talk to one guy though who was very adamant that they were supporting Mark Robinson.
Hmm.
That was Mark Robinson. We talked to Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? I
Had
don't
a
know if I saw
campaign of
that.
that. We haven't put anything out from it. Yeah, but it was okay. It was all right. We talked about our podcast that we were in the very scary place in North Carolina. We were like a few miles off the highway at a place, and the name of the establishment was Gas and Guns. It
Oh,
was a gas station that sold guns.
okay.
And like literally we got out of it, and there's probably like 30 to 50 Mark Robinson supporters there. And the first thing we noticed, it was before Mark Robinson got there, we're like, it's real quiet here. There's not
Mm.
you don't hear a car noise, you don't hear anything. It's like we are in the middle of nowhere, deep in North Carolina. So it was a little bit where we had a couple moments where we're like, this is a weird scene. This
This
is
is bad.
a
Yeah.
weird scene.
Yeah.
Like
But
you're
Mark
the
Robinson
banjo.
is he's going to vote for himself. I truly believe that he's
Yeah.
going to vote for himself.
I mean,
That's
Not
my
too
big
extreme.
prediction here.
He doesn't
Yeah.
find himself too extreme.
that's bold. That's
Yeah,
a
I don't know.
bold strategy
Yeah.
there, Cotton. But it's kind of crazy to me, and it's not kind of, it is completely crazy to me that these are things, Mark Robinson and Michelle Morrow, but also Donald Trump and everything that happened yesterday. These are things that would have 1,000 times over at a 1% degree of this severity canceled people not so long ago. And now, I mean, we've like largely forgotten the things that Mark Robinson was accused of doing in terms of the comments that he made about Martin Luther King and Hitler and this stuff. It just doesn't, they don't leave races, and it doesn't cancel them. And I just like how far of, over the shark we're jumping now, that nothing, not even the Puerto Rico joke, and I mean it was not a joke, like it wasn't funny, but he can say it was a joke, but like nothing matters anymore. It seems like nothing disqualifies any of them anymore.
I mean, you said it. It's true. It's like there really is. You think about the controversies that happened, even 10 years ago in politics, there's nothing like that anymore. I mean, it's just like Donald Trump, just thinking back to 2016 Access Hollywood tape, that's over 4 years old, or excuse me, 8 years old now. Everyone was thinking at the time, like, oh man, this is it. This is it. Because any candidate, that would be it. Because any candidate, most politicians, most people would have some shame and be like, yeah, I made a mistake. But Donald Trump, he was like, it's locker room talk. I'm not going to apologize for it. And there's been a whole new generation of politicians from the Republican Party that have that kind of same belief, or at least just that they don't need to apologize. You don't need to be held accountable for things. So I don't think it's going to end. I don't think it ends with Trump, and it partially because it's working. It actually is working in politics today. You have a whole party who feels like they can say anything, and if anybody gets upset, especially from the left, oh, it's cancel culture. Oh, it's this, it's that. This is what we're fighting against. So it's not going to happen. Like that era
But
is
that's,
over in
I
politics.
think, to your point, like it's not just about getting away with saying the thing. It's about saying the thing and then saying, I can't be held accountable for this because that's the left trying to hold me accountable for this. Remember, we all hate the left. So it's not just getting away with the thing, it's the act of refusing to take any accountability for it is in its own way this like this comment on
Defiance or whatever. Yeah.
defiance of the left. So it is. I feel like there's like a double. There's another layer there
Yep.
that justifies those actions in their minds.
And
It's like we
all
always say, it's a snake eating itself while shitting. That's like the
Yeah.
situation we're in right
Right.
now.
That's perfect. And but all of it, like when I think about it as a mom, like these are things like they fly in the face of everything I would tell my kids. Like you have to be, first of all, don't do those things, right? And then if you do those things, you have to be accountable for what the things that you did that were wrong. And that's always bothered me about Trump, but that it has become so pervasive now, like you guys just said, that it's now not only him, it's the candidates, it's probably MAGA. It's now, well, they're woke. We don't need to, subscribe to their wokeness by being accountable to all this stuff. And are you seeing like any expansion of the MAGA base, or is it just the same kind of number of people essentially as you've always seen, or is that like contracting or constricting, whatever the word is, into itself and getting more extreme, and like they're leaning into that kind of defiance more and more, or like I guess I want to know, yeah, are they
I
getting
personally
more
think it's
supporters or less?
expanding.
It's
I think it's
expanding.
expanding because I think they're the super extreme people are the super extreme people are the same super extreme people that have been around for 8 or 9 years. I think some people are getting pulled in because they don't like certain things that are going on in this country, whatever it might be. They might feel like they're spending too much on gas or groceries, those typical things that you can pull people in by talking about. And then there is this like, hey guys, we're just having fun. This is a fun vibe. This the like tailgate kind of atmosphere at these rallies, like they're genuinely having fun, and I think they're seeing they feel like they are amongst their people, and so I do feel like it's growing a little bit just with people who feel like this is a group I want to be associated with because they seem like they're having a good time. They seem like they know they're on the side of whatever's right. They can talk about what's going on in this country that they don't like. And I can relate to a couple of those things. So these are my people now. I don't know how you feel, Jason, but to me, it feels like it's growing a little bit, which has turned into some dread a little bit as we get closer to election day, because I have been looking for those clues that it's getting smaller, and I'm not seeing them. If anything, a little bit the opposite.
Ooh.
Yeah. I think it's like, so you've got like Davram said, you've got the Trump supporters that have been there forever. And then you've also got this like difference in tone. Like if you just look at Twitter and you're just looking at left-wing Twitter, you're seeing people being like, Donald Trump said this. Look at this. This he is basically a threat to democracy. This guy is a fascist. And there's arguments to be made. His own, chief of staff said he's a fascist by
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah.
So you've got people saying these dire things like this is democracy's at stake. And then you got Donald Trump on stage being like, Arnold Palmer's got some dick, doesn't he? And you just look at the tone of the people. And like at the beginning of Harris, it was like, oh, we're bringing back joy and all that. But if you look at the tone for the political parties and a lot of the ads that we see going to these swing states, it's different. There's a different tone for things. And I worry about the election if you're a supporter of Kamala Harris, just going to the swing states, seeing the ads, seeing the billboards, and talking to people who are not at Trump rallies, and the feeling that those the middle of the road voters are going to lean towards Trump because of the economy, and it's why like both of us have talked about this. Like we think Trump is going to win the election. Like if that is where we are right now, we think that Donald Trump is going to win the election, because if you just look at the polls, Donald Trump overperforms in every single election he's in. Now he's lost the midterms, and then Roe v. Wade was terrible for them in 2022. But in elections that he's in, where it's his personality that's on the line, he overperforms in the polls. He did in 2020. He did in 2016. And that's why, like, if you're going out there voting, bring a friend or try and convince somebody, because like if you're a supporter of if Kamala Harris, if you're not, and you just hate listening here to think of some comments to put in the tweets here, then go about your business. But that's where we are. That's where we left after going to all these swing states. Just breathe in the air there. Again, like, we could be wrong. Our brains have melted, and they're scrambled eggs. It's like we're going to all these Trump rallies. Of course, like this, it's affecting our psyche in some way,
Yeah.
and our reasoning. But like, that's where we are with it now.
Well, that is terrifying, but also sort of begs a couple of questions, because this is the first presidential election since Roe and since January 6th. And I know my friends who are going out knocking on doors. I'm going to Pennsylvania this week, have said that they were shocked at how many people just weren't planning on voting, which was also terrifying. But would you say that January 6th, I know Roe is going to be a factor, obviously, but would you say January 6th might be a factor? Are people who maybe aren't at the rallies that you run into in these states or experience in these states, or are the people even at the rallies, are they even talking about it? Have they really reframed it as this peaceful protest and those are warriors and patriots that should be pardoned? Is it even part of the dialogue or discussion? Is it having any impact, moving anything in terms of the election this year from what you've seen?
I don't know that it has any impact on the people we run into at Trump rallies. I think at first they would have been, there were conspiracy theories about, it was Antifa and there were these agitators, and and then the people who are in prison since then are heroes, and we saw all of this cycle kind of play out. And then it just started to be less and less overall. It was something people were less and less willing to talk about overall. And now people say, well, that's the past. That's over. Why are you bringing that up? And then we say, but, Donald Trump still has not conceded the election. So how can this attempt to stop the certification of that election, how is that the past? He's the nominee going into the next election. How could that not be something that would be important to talk about? People are like, it's over. It's all the media wants to talk about, and we're done with it. We're done with it. So at the rallies, it's like a thing of the past. And people will even say, not everyone, but a fair amount of people will say, I think this election, I think they've got things in place. I think it'll be fair. And then we'll ask, would Donald Trump admit if he lost? Like, yeah, I think he would. I think he would if he saw that it was fair, as long as it was fair. It's like, okay, we're right back. We are right back to where we started 4 years ago, where he's like sowing the seeds to say that it was a rigged election. And the people are ready to join him. If he says one or two or three things after election day, they're going to say, well, it wasn't fair. Right back to where we started. It is an unbelievable thing to have seen over the past 4 years. Everything that has happened to only end up where we started.
Worse, it seems like, honestly.
Yeah. And it's also like, you bring up January 6th. I feel this way about January. Davram and I, we were there January 6th. We said this before, but like, even not being there, you see everything that happened after the election. Donald Trump refusing to accept the election results, never conceding, not being there for the peaceful transfer of power on Inauguration Day. These are breaking norms in America. And you would hope and you would think that most people would be like, this is wrong. We can't stand for this. We can't have a presidential candidate who is denying the results of an election. It does not make sense. That's the whole point of a democracy, is the votes count and you accept the results. But most people are not paying attention to this. Like, and maybe we just have a pessimistic view, and this is just our way to not be excited. But like, I really genuinely think most people do not care about January 6th. Which, does it make sense to me? No, it does not make sense to me. It really does not. And maybe that's not true that most people don't. Trump supporters have their own theories about it and think the election was stolen, and in some way it's justified in some way, like a majority of the Trump supporters do. And then people on the left think it was a terrible idea. But then the people that are deciding the election are this small percentage of people that maybe they look at their grocery bill and they're like, it's a little bit higher right now. Like, never mind, inflation is not as bad as it is in other countries in Europe and all this stuff. It's just like, oh, my grocery, everything costs a little bit more right now. And Joe Biden was the president and Harris was the VP. So I just, it should matter. It should
Isn't
be the
that
one
crazy
thing
though?
that matters.
If you asked me, like, just to explain in simplest terms who someone should consider voting for, I'd be like, well, the one candidate did January 6th and still won't accept the election results, and the other one didn't.
Yeah.
Would be like the simplest way for me to say, oh, who's more fit to be the president?
Yeah.
But the majority of people are not thinking about this, so it's kind of mind blowing and brain scrambling. And the more Trump rallies we go to, the more we realize that.
And they don't even, a lot of people don't really understand anything about all of the indictments and all of the and the 34 convictions, and like the fact that he's a convicted felon, or that he was, found liable of sexual abuse and business fraud. It's weird the way that stuff has like gotten wiped away for a lot of people and isn't always top of mind. But then there's a lot of people like, I don't even know. There's even my friends. There's so many cases. I don't know what he's guilty of. I don't know what he did. I don't even care. And it's like, what?
Yeah. I think the timing of those things was like unfortunate in the way that it made your average person who isn't paying as close of attention say, this feels that it's coinciding with an election, therefore I have to throw it out as political chess.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dig any deeper. And I think people were willing to write off some really serious things because of the timing of all of it. It's it's unfortunate just because this January 6th, like these cases I wish would have come up before the election and didn't, and the others I think people are willing to just kind of throw out the window.
Yeah.
Yeah, the election we were talking about on the train on the way home yesterday from the Madison Square Garden. It was like the election cases were the ones where you're like, those are the ones I want to go. The classified documents, you're like, yes. I mean, if you look at the conduct there and you actually get into it, yes. But from 30,000 feet, you're looking at like, oh, he took some documents, whatever. He was the president.
And then they're like,
blah,
Joe
blah,
had a
blah.
box in his garage. It must be the same thing.
Oh God.
Like,
right.
It's all of that gets explained away, or just it just gets thrown out the window. We're not seeing the important stuff before election day. So
yeah. And there's
the election related stuff, the trying to steal an election related stuff. It's just fucking crazy. Sorry, I'm like five for about 10 minutes every hour. I'm staring off into the distance, shaking my head, just because I can't believe where we are right now, a week away from a presidential election.
I can't either. And it's still that it shocks me because, I mean, like you said, we're talking about a person who the last time we had an election not only tried to stage a coup to overturn that election, but incited horrific violence against our elected officials, against our Capitol police officers, against our Capitol, in order to make sure that the election he lost wasn't certified. Like, people died. Police officers died. Ashley Babbitt died. I have friends. I mean, you guys probably met Harry Dunn, who were there that day, who had to withstand that and still have post-traumatic stress from it. And to think that we're going to the next election, the very next one, and that person has since been indicted on all these other charges and convicted of 34 felonies, as well as the, adjudicated rape and the business fraud, where he was, tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, that we're here it's still it is. It's shocking. Like I just it's so abnormal. I sometimes think it's a simulation. Like we're all living in some collective nightmare.
My theory is that Donald Trump found a magical lamp, and he had three wishes, and one of them
Mm.
was to become president, and then and then his next one was to become president again, and then his third one was to see how McDonald's works. And he's done all three, and now we're waiting for the next
Wait
one.
a second. He's done all three. Number two is to become president again.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh no.
Oh no.
yeah,
Did you
yeah.
just tell us the
But he never
results?
lost but he's still I thought he was still technically president. That was
I love the
According to our
people with the
sources, he's still
45
president.
and
yeah.
47 shirts. And it's like,
Oh,
that's your way of admitting it. You're
right.
fine. You finally admitted it.
Yeah.
What and like you guys have those signs that say Trump won in 2020, Trump lost by a whisker. Like, which one? And like Joe Rogan, he's like, I won the election. I lost the election. I didn't lose the election.
How
It's
mad
like,
would you be if you were in prison because he said he lost, he won the election, and you went to January 6th and you did something you regret in support of Donald Trump's claim that he had actually won that election? You're sitting in prison right now, and
Wait, what was that? What did you just say?
you get word that like
You lost?
he's
Wait a
kind of like
second.
joking around with Joe Rogan about whether he won or lost. It's so fucked up.
the thing that's kept keeping you from seeing your daughter every
Yes.
day. Yeah, like the
And
oath
he's like,
keepers.
I lost. Maybe I lost by a whisker.
Maybe I lost,
Who
maybe
knows?
I
I
I
was
don't
being
know. I don't know. It's not that
sarcastic. I
important to
did
me.
win.
I don't
It's
know.
not
Yeah.
that-
Details.
but what's important is this election. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't imagine the headspace you'd be in.
Really, really fast. Were you guys in Butler or you were not there for that? Were you there for that one? For the
No,
The
one of our
reboot?
friends was so selfish and decided to get married that weekend. One of
Ew.
our,
Yeah.
guy
And
who
he's a
films
friend
lot
who
of a bunch of our
films for
stuff.
us sometimes.
Peter.
So it was double.
Oh,
It was a
geez.
double. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
You
double
could have
F you to
prevented it from
us.
happening somehow inadvertently. You never know. You could have changed the course of history, or maybe it would
Oh
have
wait,
been.
no, we were at that Butler one. We were
Oh,
at the first one. No, I thought you meant the second
I
one.
thought you meant the regathering at Butler.
we
with
were
oh
at
no,
the-
Butler.
you were at the first one.
Yeah, we left
We left
about
as we
over an
usually
hour
do before the rally started, because we talked to a bunch of people. The mood starts to change sometimes when the speakers start going up. People start to hate the media a little more. It's a
People were
good
very
time to
upset with
leave.
us.
So we had just sat down to eat some dinner, and then our phone started blowing up, and we're
Holy
like,
shit.
oh, it looks like we missed
You
some
missed something.
terrible stuff.
It
Yeah.
was I mean, the whole thing was terrible. It was a weird headspace afterwards, just being like, we were just there. People died.
People
Like, or a
died.
person
That's
died,
what
and
you know.
people were. Yeah,
That's
it's
another
just-
thing. Rogan's like, oh, do you have a little scar there? He's like, whatever. It's like people got shot and died.
Yeah,
I don't know. Everything it feels like has these two sides. The most serious things possible are happening. This presidential election, there's very big things at stake. And also Trump is just this kind of clown that keeps people thinking he's just a fun guy who says what he wants. And I gotta vote for that.
Ugh. I always say it's the darkest of times and the dumbest of times. Like it kind of it kind of is. It's just like if I came back from if I was like on, Tom Hanks and I had been on an island with a volleyball for a decade and I came back and you guys filled me
Sounds
in.
kind of nice.
That's right. Except for the whole truth faction.
Yeah,
But like if I came back and you guys were like, okay, let's fill you in. And you started with like Donald Trump has basically turned American democracy on its head. And he's got a whole cult following and he's more orange or whatever the fuck color he is than ever. And they wore, Tampax on their ears because he got shot at and it's like a fucking cult. I would honestly be like, no,
You
stop.
go back to the island.
Totally. I'd be like, Wilson,
Yeah.
let's go. Let's go
one-way
back.
ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
I
nuts.
created fire.
Fire. Yeah. Yeah, you go
That's
back.
my
you go
castaway
back.
quotes. That's all I got.
That's very
That's all I
good.
got. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Well, oh God, thanks for chatting, guys. So you do have your podcast. You obviously have all your social media. Tell us about the podcast. What's going on with that these days?
Well, it's called The Good Liars Tell the Truth. And we have the podcast, the audio version and the video version that's out on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. But also we have a full episode. We do like another 20-minute chunk of it where we share some never before seen things that you can get on Hero, which is like Patreon. It's $5 a month. There's no more, no less, $5 a month. You get all the bonus stuff, a couple movies there, herohero.co/thegoodliars.
Nice.
And support us there. Help us go to all these terrible, terrible places
Just
that we end up
awful
at.
places
Yeah.
we find
Yeah.
ourselves.
But
Well,
we're gonna do a couple more before the election of the podcast. We're talking through all the election and our experiences on the road. So if you want to hear some stories, it will not be as depressing. We won't be as depressing as we were on this podcast. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, take
my
everything
headspace was not
Jason
great
just
today.
said, but imagine we're excited about it
yeah.
and
And
tune
it's
in
funny.
to
There's
the
some jokes.
podcast.
There's
Yeah.
jokes. Yeah.
It's well, not jokes like Puerto Rico is a floating island of garbage, but yeah, actual jokes.
Actual jokes.
But don't worry about your mood. Everybody ebbs and flows, and you guys can be there. I'm not there, but and I will not get there. I'm in the opposite camp, and I'm gonna be that way until they put me in the gulag. So, well, which my daughter
Same.
actually asked me about. Mom, are you arrested? So, no, I'm not. I said, which is
Look, we're like D-list enemies
Yeah.
of the people.
It's not that we're not
think-
on a list, but
Yeah.
we're hopefully not that high on it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
yeah,
say.
I just keep thinking each of them has their own list. Like I know
Right.
that like the walking, talking, partially shaved scrotum that is Jason Miller. I'm on his list, and I know that he will come for me.
Well,
Not
maybe
come.
you should stop
You're on
calling him a
Michelle
walking
Morrow's list,
scrotum.
Jason.
Yes, you're on Michelle, and
Morrow's
so
list.
am I.
I think I'm on Carrie Lake's list.
and probably
I
JD
don't know.
Vance.
Ron DeSantis. You never know where that.
I'm on
yeah,
Ron
that could-
DeSantis'
Yeah.
list. That's for
JD's
sure.
coming for you guys
Ted
too.
Cruz.
JD's coming
He's
for
got
both
it
of
for both
us,
of us.
Oh, yeah. That was
Anyway,
a
yeah,
good one.
we're on some lists, and
Some
that's
lists.
good. It's good
Dan
when you go into the
Bongino.
club or something,
Yeah.
but it's not as good when you the
Mm.
government has an
It's
enemies
not the
list.
list you want to be on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you to the Good Liars for joining me for this episode of the Are You Effing Kidding Me podcast. Thanks for doing everything you guys do. I know it's exhausting, but you do keep us entertained, but it's also enlightening, and you've been very humorous, and so it's important to have those little bits of laughter to kind of cut through the insanity. It makes you feel a little less insane anyway. So thanks for everything that you do. I hope that we are having drinks on the other side of this thing, celebrating
Same.
Kamala's win. Oh.
I'll see you on election night. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll see you on election night. Yeah, let's go. All right. Well, we're gonna be 8 days. Oh my God. Well, thanks guys. Again, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Vote.
Vote,
Thank
vote,
you for
vote,
having
vote,
us.
vote, 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 and do whatever you can to get other people to vote. Like Jason said, like go get your friends and drag them by their hair. I don't care. Drag them to the polls and vote. And don't wear any MAGA merch because that's the new thing too. They're all wearing that like to the polls, which is so stupid. And then they take their shirt off. It's a dumb. All right. Well, thank you guys again. Don't leave so I can just say goodbye real fast, separately. Okay. Bye, everybody.